From Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. I'm Felicity Ezewike. The top stories tonight. INEC begins online pre-registration of voters, reaffirms commitment to inclusive participation ahead 2027 general elections. National Emergency Management Agency says 25 persons still unaccounted for in Sunday tragic boat mishap. Confirms rescue of 25 others. U.S. President Donald Trump holds second meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky, urges him against joining NATO.
Banks outside banks tapers to 4.49 trillion naira, now 90% of cash in circulation.
And in sport, Nigerian sprinters dominate track events on day one of the CAA Region 2 Championships in Accra, Ghana.
Welcome. Tonight begins now. Thank you again for being here. We'll begin tonight with preparations ahead of the 2027 elections. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has kicked off the nationwide continuous voter registration exercise. The commission announced that a total of 69,376 Nigerians pre-registered online within the first 7 hours of the exercise, noting that the tens of thousands of citizens had already signed up. While INEC urges citizens to take advantage of the opportunity to be part of the electoral process ahead of the general elections, it notes that eligible Nigerians can begin their registration online via the portal before the fiscal exercise commences on August the 25th, 2025. The Commission cautioned against multiple registrations, warning that offenders will face stiff penalties. Meanwhile, the Commission says it will soon publish the list of political associations shortlisted for registration as political parties. INEC's National Commissioner, Sam Olumekun, confirmed that over 151 groups submitted applications through a newly created portal, though many failed to meet the Commission's basic guidelines. He said screening has already begun, with only qualifying associations moving to the next stage. Some of the proposed party names include the Obedient People's Party, Key of Freedom Party, and the Africa Reformation Party. Staying with politics, the African Democratic Congress, ADC, has lashed out at President Bola Tinubu's administration following last weekend's by-elections across the country. The party notes that the conduct of Saturday exercise showed that democracy has declined under the current administration. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, conducted by-elections in 16 constituencies across 12 states in the country. A statement by the ADC's Interim National Publicity Secretary, Bolaji Abdullahi, alleged that the by-election were riddled with widely reported violence, vote buying, manipulation, and other administrative lapses. Abdullahi said Saturday's exercise represents the clearest indication of a dress rehearsal for the 2027 general elections. For this conversation, I have with me the former governorship candidate of the Accord Party, Kennedy Iyere, as well as a political analyst, Rasaq Olokoooba. Thank you very much for joining us on tonight. Let me start with you, Mr. Olokoooba. I'm sure you followed and monitored the by-elections at the weekend. How would you describe the conduct of the exercise generally, especially with the allegations flying around?
Content and character. The attitude of a political class is not particularly different from what we have been seeing. The moment election is won by political class, they commend INEC for doing a very good job. And the seemingly loser also go to time, like a town crier, to say that INEC has done a very bad job. You see, for us, we have to look at the indices of the election that qualifies election as free, fair, or if it's not free or fair, we have to look at it. First, what is the performance of INEC as an institution, as election umpire? What's their performance? From feelers we got from our colleagues on the field and all the state that the election held, we got an impressive feedback that INEC did a very good job. They got to many of the locations early enough for them to conduct their exercise. And I don't think there's any state that had issue with INEC in that instance. So we give kudos to INEC for doing a very good job. There's the security personnel who also ensure that the election must be free and fair. What's their conduct too? Are they compromised? Are they civilized in their conduct? Are they out to do the job they are assigned to do? So if you look at the performance and the attitude of policemen on that day, you will agree with me that we have a radical departure from what the police used to do in the past, where political class will say they are compromised. I've not seen any instance, except that they even arrested some politicians for what they are doing. So then we move quickly to the political parties themselves. Political parties themselves, I don't think there's any polling booth that any of those parties do not have their agent. So the whole question of misconduct, we have to ask them to explain to us from who. Is it police? Is it INEC? Is it that your agents are absent at your polling booth? So for us, we are getting closer to where we could call the captain of our fate. The people who are out to decide their fate. And I don't think it is not the expression of what the people want. It's a clear expression of what the people want. Where there's an impressive turnout, fine. We must commend the good that come out. Where there's low turnout, that's the attitude of the people. You cannot push that on anybody, either the government of the day or INEC. We had like a daily discussion with INEC on these days on how they can improve on their election, on their performance, and what they can do on the days of election of what happened over the weekend. So, and they appear to be willing to take advice and the opinion of the Nigerians. Serious.
Okay, it is yet to be seen how willing they are to take advice and from whom. That is also very important. Let's talk to former governorship candidate, member of the Accord Party. I want to be sure you're still a member of the Accord Party. So far, we've had some reactions to the election. We've had the PDP describe it as a sham. We also have both the ADC and the LP saying it's a dress rehearsal for 2027. What can you tell us about your party's reaction to the by-election that just happened over the weekend?
Are you talking to me?
I'm actually talking to Mr. Iyere.
Oh, okay. Because I'm shocked. I'm not a member of our Accord Party.
Okay, I don't think we have the connection with Iyere, so I'll stay with you, Mr. Olokoooba. You talked about INEC being ready to listen and perhaps implement some suggestions. What specific electoral reforms do you think that INEC can implement to prevent these repeated allegations of irregularities in the future elections?
The political party need to put their acts together and they need to stop passing buck when it comes to who should be held responsible for their failure. You know very well that many political parties are not doing well at the moment. And they have a penchant for holding you or me responsible for the woe that they are passing through. In the rickety shape that the PDP is.
Okay, so I do understand, Mr. Olokoooba, I do understand that the parties have their issues. Are you saying that there was nothing about this election that you think INEC can improve on ahead of the election we're expecting to hold in 2027?
Well, you see, the role of INEC and the work they do is not an error-free process. If we don't have a regular interaction with them, we must also assume, like any other irregular Nigerians. But they have challenges, just like any other institution. Overbearing influence of political class is there, which I think we have to thoroughly work on. The institution must be thoroughly independent, like the name indicates, Independent National Electoral Commission. They must be thoroughly independent. For instance, we have to do something about who becomes the INEC chairman. Overbearing influence of the political class must be reduced, both at national and at state level. If I am going to be involved in an election and I'm going to take part in how the INEC chairman is going to emerge, definitely it's natural for me to ensure that someone who's going to dance to my tool will be there. It's natural. Abuja is not responsible for that. Jonathan is not responsible for that. And Buhari and Tinubu is not responsible for that. That's the institution of grant. And that's one of the biggest challenges I think INEC has at the moment. If you are able to reduce the influence of a political class on INEC, they will perform one better. You know quite all right that at the moment, we have over 100 million registered voters. That's huge coming from INEC. So they did their best, and what we also have to work on is how do we achieve a similar logistic exercise where ballot paper can get to wherever they are going on time so the election can begin. That's the area of challenge. And that has nothing to do only with INEC. It's a challenge that is a universal thing. I mean, in Nigeria, it's a universal challenge that we have. The alleging exercise in the country is not doing very well. So we make do with what we have. So INEC also make do with what they have on the day of election. So there's nothing we can do. Another area I think INEC needs to work on is to have consistent and periodic political education for politicians so that you prepare their mind that the election you are going into is either you are going to win or you are going to lose. Many political class don't prepare for a loss. And that's why you see that kind of desperation in them. That education is important so that an opposition will be like an opposition. An opposition is a political opponent. It's not. All
right, Mr. Olokoooba, I think you've made some fair contributions as to what needs to change in the coming months ahead of the elections expected in 2027. That's all the time we have for this conversation. Thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
We do apologize for the inability to connect with Mr. Iyere. Hopefully we can have him in other conversations. Coming up tonight, contractors accuse federal government of unfair treatment. We will bring you that story and more when we return. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. INEC begins online pre-registration of voters, reaffirm commitment to inclusive participation ahead 2027 general elections. National Emergency Management Agency says 25 persons still unaccounted for in Sunday tragic boat mishap, confirms rescue of 25 others. And U.S. President Donald Trump holds second meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky, urges him against joining NATO. Now to one of our headlines. The National Emergency Management Agency has confirmed the rescue of 15 more persons in the ongoing operation following Sunday's tragic boat mishap in Kojiyo village, Koronyo local government area of Sokoto state. In a statement signed by the agency's head of press unit, Manzo Ezekiel, Nama said the latest rescue brings the total number of survivors to 25, while 25 others remain missing. The statement noted that the Director General of NEMA, Mrs. Zubaida Umar, also assured that rescue operations will be sustained and further intensified until all missing persons are rescued. I'll tell you that a devastating fire has razed structures in a plaza located in the Garki area of Abuja in the early hours of Monday. Although operatives of the Federal Fire Service responded quickly to the emergency call and managed to bring the fire under control, an eyewitness, News Central met on the ground, gave details of what transpired, saying no lives were lost or casualties recorded. The environment contains several important structures, including the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Bravo Plaza, and the office of the National Road Transport Secretariat.
It was a chaotic scene here at the plaza behind me earlier today when fire broke out, engulfing no fewer than 2 to 3 structures within this busy commercial complex. The flames swept through parts of the plaza, reducing goods and equipment to ashes. Now, eyewitnesses say that the fire started in the early hours, catching many shop owners off guard. Despite the scale of destruction, no lives were lost, a relief amid what could have been a far more tragic outcome. While affected shop owners, business owners declined to speak on camera, several confirmed to us that they lost goods and property worth a fortune, some more than others. Efforts to speak with the facility management have so far been unsuccessful. They have refused to comment on the cause of the fire or the response, leaving many questions unanswered. The cause of the fire remains unknown, but there are growing concerns about the safety standards and emergency preparedness in commercial plazas across the city. As investigations continue, business owners here are left to pick up the pieces and wait for answers.
I believe NEPA shouldn't have come to fix lights when it's dark. It was partial contact that made all those things reflect. That's why it got burnt.
Contractors under the umbrella of the Association of Indigenous Contractors of Nigeria have issued a 7-day ultimatum to government, dismissing claims that their outstanding liabilities for 2024 has been cleared. At a press conference in Abuja, the contractors called on government to pay the entitlements, saying that tying the payment to allocations received from FAC is unjust and unfair. News Center's correspondent Joshua Imaraye reports from Abuja.
These individuals are indigenous contractors who say the government has failed to keep its promise to clear outstanding liabilities, warning that patience is running out.
The world should know, and the government should know that we are watching.
Well, he gave us his promise the other time that after the FAC meeting of August,
the warrant for April and May will be released. We are waiting, and we will see what will happen.
They also allege that while they remain unpaid, foreign contractors have continued to receive preferential treatment.
We concluded our execution of our contract since 2024, in fact, since between September, October, November. And throughout that 2024, there was no money. Government breached the contract that we had, the indigenous contractor had with them. But they went ahead to pay the foreign contractors, even upfront. We are bold to tell the government that we are not happy. They are not treating us well.
Beyond the grievances, the contractors are appealing for assurances that ongoing projects will not be abandoned.
And also to assure us that those of us that didn't finish their project, they should be allowed to proceed with the completion of their project, and then assure them that they will pay them between now and December. That is our appeal.
They are also vowing to escalate their protest if government fails to act.
Within the next 7 days, if those April, May, June, July, and August warrants and cash backing is not transmitted to those ministries, we will flood the city of Abuja. We will start by visiting most of the embassies, foreign embassies, from the U.S. Embassy, UK Embassy, Ireland, Canada, all embassies.
With a 7-day ultimatum now on the table, these indigenous contractors insist that Abuja could soon witness widespread protest if government fails to act. In Abuja, for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
Outside of Nigeria, U.S. President Donald Trump has announced that Russian President Vladimir Putin has agreed to accept Western security guarantees for Ukraine as part of any future peace deal. This was revealed ahead of a potential trilateral summit involving Trump, Putin, and Ukrainian president aimed at ending the ongoing conflict. Trump emphasized that security assurances for Ukraine are a key element under serious consideration in ongoing diplomatic talks. Now, before the summit, Trump urged Ukraine to abandon its ambition to join NATO and its hopes of regaining Crimea, which Russia seized in 2014. Trump indicated that if talks with Zelensky proceed well, he expects to meet with Putin soon for a trilateral meeting focused on bringing an end to the war. I have with me retired diplomat Joe Kashi, foreign affairs analyst, and Zach Zhu, and international journalist Adeni Kuno join me now for this conversation on the latest meeting in efforts to end the Russian-Ukraine war. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being here. Mr. Kuno, I'll start with you. And Trump has repeatedly changed his stance when it comes to the Ukraine-Russian war. We know that at the beginning, he talked about 24 hours after taking office that he was going to sort this out. 8 months later, there's a ceasefire deal that has stalled, talks rather, that has stalled. He is saying that he and Putin are pushing for a peace deal that skips a ceasefire, putting them at odds with Zelensky, who is saying there will be no peace deal, no talk without a ceasefire. Does this bode well for these talks that Trump is championing?
It's very clear that the particular country that has suffered the most in this 3 years carnage happens to be Ukraine. We know that it doesn't bode well for any country to have the citizens lose their lives. But when there is war, especially at this level, there has to be mediation points, which I believe this second meeting of Trump with both leading countries, particularly Russia, as well as Ukraine, would have actually done a lot to. But you see, this actually doesn't seem to be the only issue on ground. When President Clinton was in power, there were issues, of course, following the dismemberment of the former USSR and how they have always talked about not moving NATO into what is close to Russian territory, particularly the way you don't want anything to do with, maybe some countries in Europe or some enemies of Russia in Cuba because of the proximity to the United States of America. And I listened to Clinton, who said for everything that Russia said it will do, at that point in time, Russia did, but everything that should have been done by the US and some allies were reneged upon. So when you look at the problem in Ukraine today, it is not just about the problem of Ukraine now, it's something that ties back. Let's look at when, for instance, Petro Poroshenko, who followed Viktor Yanukovych, was there. While there were clamors for Ukraine to become part of the European Union, of course, Viktor Yanukovych talked about wanting to remain as Ukraine, with a promise by Russia to give it, in terms of its economic problem, to support it with $20 billion back there. The powers that unsat Viktor Yanukovych were the ones that insult Petro Poroshenko, were the ones that perhaps also insult Vladimir Zelensky at the moment. So the issues that Russia has with Ukraine right now is not just about the Donbas region, about the Crimea region. It's about the fact that certain things are happening along the lines of NATO, European Union, that appears to put Russia in the wrong, but those things that put Russia in the wrong is not understood enough. And that seems to be why Russia continues to say, my perspective must be understood. Nobody, yes, wants to talk about the fact that they went into that country, invaded it, or the fact that some people are just talking about the invasion of the country. But what were the antecedents of these issues? So right now for Trump has realized it is not a linear issue. It's a complex compound problem that just saying it's going to resolve in one fell swoop. You know, it's not something that's going to happen. So you have to do a tie back or a track back a little bit and see how these things could be addressed. Now, the way Zelensky has been speaking, yes, as the leader of your country, you need to speak to these issues, but there must be concessions made. I don't know what kind of concessions will be made. Yes, Zelensky has talked about the fact that it's not considered a region, but I need to say this, that because more lives would be lost, there has to be a meeting point for those leaders, or else we're not going to have the bloodshed stop anytime soon. That's just how I want to begin here.
All right, Mr. Zhu, let me come to you and talk about, you know, this summit that we've looked at. Trump has urged Ukraine to abandon its ambition to join NATO and its hope of reclaiming Crimea, even though Mr. Kennedy doesn't think that should, you know, stop peace talks. Most of the world really casts some sort of aspersion against Russia's annexation of that peninsula, and they say it's illegal. Russia should not be rewarded, however. That's what Zelensky is now saying, for its participation in the war. And they're saying that, and Moscow must hear the word stop. That's what Zelensky said in response, I think, to Trump's call and urge for him to abandon his ambition to join NATO. I want to know your thoughts on these discussions along these lines and what it means.
It's so difficult to take it at face value because history is very complex. If I take an example of Nigeria, Nigeria as a state was put together by others who designed the borders. But those borders will always be disputed by those that understand the course of history. Ukraine is not different. Moscow has its own views about what the actual borders of Ukraine should be. And they would also say that history made mistakes by leaving some of the Russian-speaking people under what then became the Ukrainian territory. Now, these are the issues at hand. So it's not as simple as looking at the war. Of course, I think there is a need, and probably President Trump is right. Whatever disputes there are, they must not be resolved through war, through the use of force, and also they must be everything must stop. There must be peace. And then people can negotiate. If there are issues of territory that are in dispute, that can be done. But President Trump holds the trump cards here. America is paying for the war in the most, although others are providing support. They provide most of the intelligence. They provide, if there is no America involvement in this war, it's difficult to see how others can fight against Russia for the longest. So in a way, you have to say the European leaders will have a position, the Ukrainian leader would have a position, but it has to be something that they can convince President Trump on, because without that, it's difficult to see how they can proceed without the Americans. But then if you flip it, Felicity, the other way, the Americans will be paying billions to support Europe, NATO, and whatever wars are going on. President Trump's approach has been, if he can stop the wars, then he reduces the bill that America has to pay. He reduces the probability that American lives will be lost.
All right, gentlemen, just hang on. We need to go on a very short break. When we come back, I have questions for you about, Mr. Kuno, about the trilateral meeting. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Mr. Kuna, I'll come with you with the question. Zelensky, after the meeting, when asked to comment, said he was looking to talk about territorial issues when they have that trilateral meeting. From all that we know about Trump's efforts to, broker peace in this war that everybody's concerned about, what are the chances that Putin will show up for that planned trilateral meeting that's being promoted?
Let me remind us here first that the meeting with Putin and the meeting with Zelensky has not produced, in my assessment, a clear pathway into resolving the problems within the Ukraine-Russian territory. Let me establish that first. But what I want to put forward is, you need to understand the underlying motivation as to why Vladimir Putin himself has not been willing to meet with Zelensky, because this trilateral meeting is going to do what I call a balance of power, and it's going to ensure that there's trade-off with a semi-neutral mediator. If you look at the position of the European Union, they are 100%, the European Union is 100% with, with Ukraine and against Russia. The only thing the United States of America has done in this matter is that as the leading nation and sponsor of NATO, it has also expended up to $350 billion US, amongst many other things, in support of what? Ukraine. But it has not been so much as supportive of Ukraine the way European Union has been supportive of it. So I can say it can actually be at that trilateral meeting as a neutral negotiator. Well, I needed to understand one thing. While Vladimir Putin was in the KGB of the USSR, Zelensky has not even started his comedic video shoots. So Vladimir Putin doesn't see Zelensky, although the president of the country, as a leader worthy of being in the same room with him. And do not also forget, the parent country has been Russia. You need to understand global policy and dynamics, the hegemonies of the Eastern Bloc. So I'm simply saying that when we're talking about this trilateral meeting, one of the things it can do is to first of all balance power. Then when balance of power has been achieved, then you can see both persons that are what? First persons in the narratives come face to face so that nobody will mistake one another for the further conversations. That's what I want to put forward. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Kunu. Mr. Zhu, just your thoughts on the fact that despite all these talks going on, all the efforts, all the negotiations, Russia is still attacking Ukraine. There were recent attacks even just before the meetings happened. What does this tell you about the whole process? Are you worried, or is this negotiation going to actually end this war? I know it's time limited. 1 minute, please.
Yeah, it is about the dynamics. Both the French President, Francois Macron, and the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, did say that what they wanted to see was a ceasefire first. But in the talks, it appears that in the talks in Alaska between President Putin and President Trump, that point was raised, and their decision appears, or so we hear, to have been that they just want to go straight to peace talks and stop the war, because any ceasefire will lead to disputes in terms of territory and who is occupying what during the course of that time, or give others some opportunity to restock and then make new attacks. So it appears that they have agreed that they will just be peace talks straight away. President Trump needs these peace talks before the Nobel Prize winner is decided. He wants the war to be stopped. He wants to prove to the world that he can be effective in stopping wars. President Zelensky knows that once the war ends, then there will be elections, and it's difficult to know what will happen then. Felicity.
Gentlemen, thank you so much, Mr. Kuno and Mr. Zhu, for your time.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
After this very short break, we will have money talks, sports, and entertainment. Do stay with us. Business News is next. Perpetua, hi.
Hello, Bayelsa State. In Bayelsa State, oil community leaders are urging the federal government to expand the surveillance mandate of Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited, PINL. They say the company's work has restored calm in the Niger Delta and boosted crude oil output after years of disruption. News Central's Biola Festus reports.
Calls for broader surveillance topped the August engagement of Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited, PINL, in Bayelsa State. The meeting followed fresh reports from OPEC and the Federal Inland Revenue Service showing higher crude outputs, stronger revenues, and relative peace in the Niger Delta region. Under PINL's watch, the Trans-Niger Pipeline, Nigeria's most strategic crude route, has been shielded from thieves and vandals.
We reaffirm our unwavering commitment to sustainable energy security in full alignment with the renewed hope agenda of the federal government. We have a shared responsibility to rescue our economy from further bleeding. And achieving this goal requires that all hands remain on deck. We look forward to your honest and constructive feedback on how we can sustain or surpass our outstanding records in combating pipeline vandalism, oil theft, and environmental pollution.
Unlike previous years when disruptions crippled production, stakeholders say the tide has turned, like their counterparts in Rivers, Imo, and Abia states. Bayelsa leaders credit PINL's constant presence for the turnaround.
I want to use this opportunity to call on other sister pipeline security contractors to emulate and do what they are doing. This is indeed commendable.
I thank the pipeline infrastructure for the measure they've taken, trying to see that every infrastructure in their pipeline is safe.
Women can mediate disputes and persuade youths away from sabotage. I still say, a lot of times when these youths come, say, I no go gree, I no go gree. It is the mothers that will still call them, say, come, my pikin, you no go gree, but pity your mother.
The police command in Bayelsa State has invested in critical infrastructure for aerial surveillance with the use of drone technology. The command has been able to access remote areas in real time to curtail activities of vandals.
With relative calm now in place, communities are demanding an expansion of PINL's mandates, arguing that only wider coverage can guarantee long-term peace and progress.
The relationship between the host communities and PINL is very, very cordial. You always see the relationship in the results, because if the relationship is not cordial, there will be a lot of infractions.
The fact that we recorded 0% infraction shows that they are doing well, right? I want to believe that there is more of engagement, inclusiveness. There are clear signals that they are ready to do better and have everybody involved in one way or the other.
One of the benefits of their involvement is that their periodic engagement of communities and stakeholders alone has solved the latent function of creating an inclusive atmosphere for communities and everybody, or all stakeholders involved. So, and that alone solves the problem of agitations of stakeholders who feel that they have been neglected.
In Bayelsa State for News Central, Biola Festus.
Currency outside Nigeria's formal banking system, COB, moderated to 4.49 trillion naira in June 2025, down from 4.63 trillion naira in May. This is according to new data from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Despite the decline, COB still dominates liquidity, accounting for approximately 90% of the total currency in circulation, which stood at 5.01 trillion naira. The easing marks the first pullback in 2 months after steady rises earlier in the year. Year-on-year, COB increased by 18.6%, while overall CIC rose 24% compared to June 2024. Analysts say the persistent dominance of out-of-bank cash highlights Nigeria's structural reliance on cash and poses challenges to the effectiveness of monetary policy. President Bola Tinubu has appointed Opeyemi Agbaje, former executive director at Guaranty Trust Bank, as chairman of the National Pension Commission, PENCOM. The move follows a 7-day ultimatum from the Nigeria Labour Congress, which threatened nationwide strike action over the prolonged absence of PENCOM's governing board. The NLC has long argued that vacancy weakens accountability in managing pension assets worth over 18 trillion naira. Agbaje, known for his expertise in finance and governance, is expected to restore credibility to the commission. Labour leaders, however, stress that beyond disappointment, broader reforms are needed to protect workers' retirement savings and strengthen pension administration. And we close this one with the stock markets. The local bourse opened the week on a positive note as gains in Dangote Sugar, Unilever and Custodian drove the all-share index higher. Consequently, month-to-date and year-to-date returns settled higher at 3.5% and 40.6% respectively. Let's take a look at the snapshot for more. We can see it's up 7 basis points. Marginally, I would say 144,722.47. Market capitalization at 91.56 trillion naira. And now to sectoral performance. Insurance names led volumes as selective accumulation in consumer goods also added to the positive tone we saw in the market. And beginning with the banking sector, it's down 151 basis points, with all FUGA stocks closing lower, while Stanbic shed 10%. It led the declines in that particular sector. And we have insurance, the biggest gainer for the day, up 5.26%. We saw ICO gain over 10%. It led the gainers chart. And we also saw Custodian coming back, resuming its uptrend. Away from that, oil and gas is down 28 basis points. You've got consumer goods up 115 basis points. You've got Dangote Sugar, which of course extended gains into the third session, while Unilever and Champion further supported what we have right there. And finally, industrial is down 12 basis points. Volumes on the local bourse remained healthy, though heavily skewed, with the insurance sector alone accounting for 57% of the day's total trading volume. And that wraps up business tonight. I am Perpetua Fasobe Peter. Tonight continues with Felicity. Bye for now.
Let's stop a sports update.
All right, now let's in the world of sports. Nigeria enjoyed a strong outing on the opening day of the CAA Region 2 Senior Athletics Championships in Accra, winning multiple sprint titles and medals. Olaolu Olatunde claimed the men's 100-meter crown in 10.60 seconds, ahead of Ghana's Kelvin Pentil Ato and Abico's Kone Abdurrazak. Chioma Cynthia Weke continued a breakthrough season with a gold in women's 100-meter clocking 11.62 seconds to lead a Nigerian 1-2 finish as Olayinka Olajide secured silver. Gambia's Issa Tusey took bronze. In the men's 110 hurdles, Nnamdi Adeboye Nwanze won his first medal for Nigeria, securing silver in 14.33 seconds, while Great Wisdom Musa claimed bronze. The men's 400-meter was a clean sweep for Nigeria as Gafari Badmus stomped to a personal best of 45.53 seconds for gold, while debutant Ezekiel Eno Asukwo claimed silver in 46.38 seconds. Ghana's Mordecai Achempong settled for bronze in the time of 46.63 seconds as the competition ends on Tuesday. Still talking sports, the 9th National Youth Games will take place in Asaba Delta State from August 26 to September 6, with the opening ceremony scheduled for August 28 at the Stephen Keshi Stadium. Organizers unveiled the competition schedule, confirming multiple venues across the city will host events. An 8-man local organizing committee chaired by Honorable Oberewori is overseeing preparations, supported by advisor Chief Solomon Ogba and other members. After hosting 2 consecutive editions, Asaba will welcome athletes competing in over 30 sports, including athletics, swimming, football, basketball, wrestling, weightlifting, and power sport. The Games aim to promote grassroots talent, with Delta State once again serving as the hub for Nigeria's largest youth sports development event. And now to football. Nigeria's home base Super Eagles will seek a strong finish to their CHAN 2024 campaign when they face Congo in their final group game. Head coach Eric Chell has called on his players to show professionalism and character despite the team's early elimination after back-to-back defeats. Nigeria lost their opening 2 matches, ending hopes of advancing, but the coach insisted the clash with Congo offers an opportunity for players to demonstrate their quality on the continental stage. Child confirmed he will make changes to his starting lineup, stressing the need to correct errors that cost Nigeria earlier in the tournament. And that wraps it up on Sports Update. And Favor Itoa tonight continues with Felicity.
Sam has tonight's entertainment.
Well, entertainment, Nigerian sensation Omah Lay has reached a major career milestone. His hit single Soso has been certified diamond in France, marking his first record to achieve the certification in this region. Now, a diamond status means you've sold 50 million streams, and an achievement that proves the global resonance of Afrobeats and the success of his debut album, Boy Alone. Now, he joins Burna Boy, Ira Star, Rema, and Oxlade to have achieved this. Now, fans anticipate, of course, Omah Lay's upcoming album, Charity of Mind. He had earlier said a certain unnamed artist stole the concept for his last album. So I guess we'll wait, of course, for that one to drop. American rap icon Busta Rhymes will be honored with the first ever Rock the Bells Visionary Award at the 2025 MTV Video Music Award, Decades of Transforming Mainstream Latin Music. Of course, now, let's not lie, Afrobeat stars are nominated this year as well, from Ashake to Burna Boy to Ira Star. So we're looking forward to these year's awards and seeing who gets what. But those are the biggest stories in entertainment. I'm Sam Dandy.
And that's our offering tonight. Do send your eyewitness reports to the number showing now on your screen. We'd love a follow from you on social media platforms at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube.